We are up to Daf Nun Aleph Amad Aleph. We were discussing about Kapara at a wedding that he was not invited to, and he was all upset. And then Rabbi Yudah didn't invite him deliberately because he would make him laugh, and he didn't want to. But eventually he invited him. Whether he invited him to that very wedding or that he made a separate, others say he actually made a separate Sheva Brachas, and he invited him, made a big, huge affair just to invite back Kapara. So, continuation of the story, it would seem, not everyone agrees, but it seems literally simply reading the Gemara, this is what happened at the wedding. Says the Gemara from Aleph and Aleph, about 4 lines on the top of the page. 5 lines. Omalei bar Kapara lebarte de Rebbe. Bar Kapara said to the daughter of Rebbe, the mocher, tomorrow you're going to see at this function that I was invited to, Shasina Chamra, I am going to drink wine. Birikuda de Abach, and your father is going to dance for me. Uvikirkina de Imach, and your mother is going to sing for me. Your mother is going to sing for me, which is a pretty amazing thing. How do we actually understand Pshat? What your mother sing for you? To have Kol Isha Erva, how can your mother sing? So the Rosh actually changes the version around, and he says, your mother is going to dance for me, and your father is going to sing for me. Now, it would seem the reason why the Rosh changed that order is to bother him that question. But having the mother dance for him, is that any better? In fact, in a way, it's even worse. So how do we explain that the mother danced? So some say the word mekakeres is not really singing. Keres means like screeching or, your howl. It's not really a song. So even though the Ran says mizameres, which means literally singing, it doesn't really literally mean that. It means it's screeching. Others want to say that if you mentally, sorry, exactly what it is. Others say that Rabbi Yaakov Emden says in the back, he says that or others say that he said it was L'Shem Shemaim. If you did L'Shem Shemaim, you're allowed to hear a woman sing. L'Shem Shemaim is he wanted to make Rabbi to be happy. Rabbi was always so serious and intense. Others say that if you're listening to a woman and you don't have the kavanah is not to have hana from it, you're permitted. The Meiri says that in Megillah that a woman reading Megillah is forbidden because kol b'isha erva, but no one else says that, which sounds like reading the trop of a Megillah is not considered kol b'isha erva. The Meiri is the only one who says that. Because in fact, halach we have a correct. Can a woman read Megillah or don't read Megillah? No one says. But make sure if she does, when she's allowed to make sure that she's allowed to at night. Make sure that she doesn't sing it. She says it. No one says that. So therefore, when it says that Kol Isha Erva, we have to really know what it means Kol Isha Erva. But interesting is Rashi in Bracha says Kol Isha Erva. He says a married woman, a pnuya is allowed to. So we see there are different, rules as to what actually doesn't mean Kol Isha Erva. Anyway, this is what he told the daughter is going to happen. Let's see what actually happened, what transpired. Ben Elosha. There was a guy called Ben Elosha. He was a son of Rebbe, but Osher Godel is a very wealthy man. We'll come back to him soon. And he was also invited to the party of Rab Shimon, the Rebbe's son, which happened to be his brother-in-law. Amalei Bakapala Rebbe, because the Rebbe, tell me, my te'eva. We find the word te'eva in all the different kinds of immoral acts between two people only when it comes to homosexuality. It says the word te'eva. What does te'eva mean? So he said, what is te'eva? So he called Amalei Rebbe, whatever Rebbe said to him, the Hachinu, this is explanation, te'eva, pracha bakafra. Bakapara repudiated it. Amalei Parshayas, he said, you explain to me. Amalei, you want something from me. Teise, I want you to make sure that bitchi tirmili natla achas, that your wife actually pours to me 1 cup. And that's why some Rishonim will say that the word here, kaka, does not mean to sing, but it means that she should serve me. She should pour me a glass of wine. And again, you see that when he came into the men's side, and this is a chasana, and Osha Brachas. And what do you call it? Not the, and also so she came in and she filled in the wine. So even those that say that it means singing, nowhere do we find that she actually sang. The only thing that we find that she did was she served him. Rebbe, now he says, Rebbe, you go dance to me. Daimlach, if I can tell you, afterwards he said, To'eva is 3 words, Toya Ataba. This kind of behavior is not the conventional way of behavior, and therefore the word To'eva is made up of a few words, Toya Ataba. You're going foul, you're going the wrong way. Because my table. Next cup, he said to him, my table. What does it mean when the pasuk says that a woman should not have any relations with an animal, bestiality, and the pasuk says that if you do, it's tebelhu. What does the word tebel mean? Amalei kinyana kadma. Same deal we made the first time. Amalei ibeli the imelach. Whatever I told you before, do it again. What you should do for me, and I'll tell you. Amalei tebel. You know what tebel means? Tavlin yeshba. Tebel means spicy. Is there any spice in this? Why are you even interested in bestiality? Bishani had to be you can have the same pleasure with people. Why have bestiality? Malay. So then ask my third question. My zima. Tell me, we're already on the roll here. What does the word zima mean? And we find the word zima says the molha or zima. The entire world is full of zima. What is zima? Malay ibi kinyan kadma. You the same deal. Dance this. He did. He said to him, Zima is made up of Zumahi. What is this? The Rambam says what makes Lashon Kodesh. Lashon Kodesh is there's no grotesque words in the language. And then the Rambam brings a few of the words like Zima and all that, and he shows the Gemara here. There's nothing grotesque about it. It's alluding to a grotesque act, but the word itself is not grotesque. And Ivrit Baruch Hashem made up for all those words that were missing in Lashon Kodesh. Anyway. Melosha couldn't take this anymore. Watching Rebbe dancing over there and being humiliated. The Nofak, he who went out, the to say his wife would tell him from there. The mother was trying to say how far he went, and he did this all the Shem Shemaim, so Rebbe should be a little freilich, go out of his bounds. My Ben Elosha, what kind of name is Ben Elosha? Marshal explains the question is usually a person has his own name. We don't even know his name. He's named after his father. So the Marshal says a beautiful thing. So Marshal says when people make money, not because they worked very hard. When you work very hard, they appreciate the value of $1. So therefore, you will spend it, circumspectly. But if you inherited money, you didn't ever lift a finger, you spend it willy-nilly. You spend it very easily. And Ben Elosha, even though all the money came from his father, it wasn't his own money. He didn't throw the money away. He did it for a purpose. That is the time we learn. He didn't just throw away the money. We have in kindness. He wanted to know, and Sanhedrin, he wanted to know how in the world the Kohen Gadol used to cut his hair, because he would take a haircut every time. It says in Pasuk by Yechezkel that they continuously cut the heads. How do you continue? How can the Kohen head you just once in 30 days? Fine, your hair grows back a little bit, but to have it every day, how do you do that? Every 3 days. Totally, we learned ain luliness, a haircut like luliness. My luliness, a very unique kind of a haircut style. What is it? You cut it, you don't do the bald. You cut it that a little bit of hair is there, that the tip of one reaches the root of the next. And that was the haircut, and he took it on himself because he spent a fortune to see how it works. Now, why that's important? The only possible explanation is, and the Gemara is complimenting is that he believed Mashiach is coming any moment, and therefore, even though there's Rabbi Nasi hundreds of years after the Churban Mikdash, and therefore he wanted to be ready when Mikdash is built, the Kohen Gadol should know exactly how to do it. So therefore, he trained himself to be there to teach the Kohen Gadol how to do it. Anyhow, we also said another thing that's permitted is the last, how to mutz. The mutzah is also permitted. What in the world is at the last? The last are these melons or gourds in the gourd family. What exactly is at the last mutzah? What is that? Says the Gemara. When you said tafshil does not include that, or ma'aseh does not include that. My last mutzah, Shmuel says kar kuzoi. You have these are the gourd family, pumpkins and all that come from political kar kuzoi. Rav Ashi says, no, it's a species. Rav Ashi says, the last had tumuna benevet. It's a method of cooking. Instead of putting it in a pot, you put it amongst the coal. He says, the last Aramisi, the last, which we call the Romanian, the Armenian last, is the same as the Egyptian, the last. And Kalayim Ayavon. So they're not Kalayim between each other, but if you mix them with the Greek Delas, even though they have the same name, it's a different species, and therefore it's Kalayim. And Kalayim and Amutza, so too it's Kalayim with Amutza. If you tell me Amutza is not a category of Delas, but rather a method of cooking, then why would it be Kalayim with something else? Is the raya that in a Amutza is a kind of a species of and that's why it's Kalayim with others. Tiyupta is a good question. Next Mishnah, Hanoide Mimai somebody make now we already had this mission before, and for some reason or other we're quoting it again here. Hanoide Mimai Sikadeda, somebody made another Mimai Sikadeda from something that's taking the pot. And also Maise the Tachta only if it's cooked from the beginning to the end in the pot. But Amar Koinim Hayoyli Deda, he said I'm banning anything that enters a pot, because that's something they used to enter a pot and then they used to move it onto a frying pan. It is awesome. Anything that's happened in the pot, even if it's only there for a few minutes before you move on, it's awesome. Okay, says the Gemara, Tanya learned, I know you data also if he says I will not go in anything that data is also awesome, even something that goes into a frying pan. Why? You should fry your data, because the way it was is first they put it in the pot, boiled it, and then put it in the frying pan to become crusty, you know that. What was that? Because it went into the pot before they put it in the frying pan. If he says min hayoyed, if he said I'm banning anything which goes in the frying pan, mutter biyoyed l'gdeda, then he's permitted in something that goes in the pot before it goes. If he says yoyed bilfus, that means from the beginning it should enter a frying pan. So if it's a kind of a food that first they boil it up in the pot and then they put it in the frying pan, it's not included, because he said yoyed l'ilfus, only something that enters the frying pan from the beginning. If he says mina nasibik data, anything that was totally cooked in the data, then mutar nasib ilfus, then it's permitted if it was made in an ilfus. Even though you put it in the pot for a few minutes before you put it in the frying pan to get some crust, nevertheless it's not, because when you said nasibik data, you mean from beginning to end. It should only be in the pot. I want boiled chicken. I don't want fried chicken. Mina nasib ilfus, the same thing. If he said nasib ilfus, then mutar benasibik data, permitted if it's made tarlik data. If you say I will not ban myself from gefilte that go into an oven, and also the pas, the primary thing they should put in the oven is bread. So therefore, if you say in the oven, the founder is talking about bread. Imam a coal mice on the land, any activity that's made in the oven, then also anything made in the oven, meat or anything else, is usher as well. Yeah. Says the Mishnah, we're going through items where people speak. What do they mean? What is their intent? We're talking about the words themselves. What do they mean? Because if he says he meant something and the word doesn't in any way lend itself to that, it's no good. It has to be piv v'liba shav. Minat kavish, you say marinated. Ain't also minat kavish because he said the word ha, the extra. It's a machlekes shem how learns Mishnah. So one way is because he said the hey the. That was the most common item that you use to marinate. That's vegetable. It's to marinate vegetables. But if you say kavush, shayne time, also you just say kavush without the hay, anything which is marinated, doesn't matter what it is. That's how some Rishonim learn. The difference is the hay or not or minus the hay. Other Rishonim learn it's the difference is you added the word shayne time that I won't taste. In the first case, I don't care if it's a hay, there's no hay. If you said kavush or ha kavush, then only the yerek is forbidden vegetables. But if you say shayne time, I will not taste it, then anything is included. Same thing here. I mean, hashaluk, according to those Rishonim, it's the hay, something that's stewed. Ain't also element of shaluk. Shalbasa, only if it's meat. Shaluk, she'ani time, also chalashluk, anything that's cooked or stewed. And again, is it the hay or is it the dish of any time? That's the machlekes Rishonim. Amar the kavish. What is it? Instead of saying ha kavish, he said dik kavish. He said dik kavish. I take up as also. My this sholik, he said a dalad, or did soli my? Do we say that dalad is like a hay? The no, those who learn hay is like the, or it's like not a hay, it's just regular kavush. Din meliach my heichin mashma. Which way does it? Is it like the specific one or not? It's a good question. Tell you about it further. Mishnah, next Mishnah. I mean, hatzoli. If you say that which is roasted, ein also element hatzoli shabasa. Stam roast is a roast. When you say the word roast, you mean a pot roast. You mean meat. Divre Rabbi Yehuda. Those are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Soli shani time. If you don't say the hay, same thing again. Is it the hay or is it shani time? Then also anything it could be fish, could be anything that you roast, you grill, vegetables is forbidden. If you say mean hamaliach, you say the salted item. Also, I mean hamaliach for dog. You mean fish, herring. But miliach without the hay or the addition, anything salted. Dog, if you say dogim, if you said dogim, sha'ani toyim, osben, dog is singular and dogim is plural. So generally, how this most time learned. Dog, because it's singular, it means you buy one at a time. It's probably a large fish. Dogim, you buy a few fish at a time. They're probably like sardines, small. Or some Rishonim say less than the size of a liter. Small fish is dogim. So if you said dogim, shani I won't eat. Also behen bein big dolim big tanim. There are all kinds of fish of forbidden. I don't care what size it is. And bein meluchim made failing, whether they're salted, whether they're not salted. Bein chayim, bein mevushalim, whether they're raw, whether they're cooked. But mutter permitted, but tris trufa, it's a certain kind of fish, a species called tris, and if they sell it not as a whole but in pieces, it's permitted. Why is it permitted? Because when you say fish, you mean a whole fish. And if this is the way you sell this fish in cutlets or in pieces or flayed, whatever, then it's not a whole fish. It's in fillers. It's mutter. Also, you permitted in the tzir. The tzir is like the fish that comes out and sits there and the water that comes out, and what do you call it? And murius is from the fatty part of the fish that comes out. So they permitted because that's not fish. It's not fish. Hanoid, if someone makes a neder from tzachna, if someone makes a neder from tzachna, we'll see what that is. Also, he's forbidden bitris, truth. Tzachna already is like pieces of fish all mixed together, different fish mixed together. So then it's also tris trufa, because tris is one particular species of fish, but it's cut in pieces. But a mutter b'tzirimuris, again, there's no fish in the tzirimuris, it's just a brine, it's just a sauce. Hanoidim mit tris trufa, but if you said clearly, I'm answering in fish that's cut up, tris trufa, then also it is forbidden as well, the tzirimuris, because they're included in cut up. Other gifts is mutter b'tzirimuris because there's no real pieces of fish in there. Filter fish. Depends how much bread you put in there. Tanya, we learned I'm a dog, shiny time, also big dog. Say the word dog, then you're only meant to ban large fish. Mutter big tiny, but a small fish. Dogga shiny time, if you say dogga is like a nickname you say by a person when a kid is young, you add a little, a lamed, an ayin. My name Mottle, when a little kid or Mottele and all that. Moishale. So you say dogga, you're talking, it's like a miniature fish, right? So him also big tiny. That's probably a nickname for a smaller kind of a fish, and you permitted a large fish. Dogga, shall I tell you? If you say dogga, but if it's dog on its own means a small fish. If you say dogga, also big time. All kinds of fish is also. No, what's a chiddush? You shouldn't think that he's trying to explain himself. That when I said dog, I meant dogga, small fish. No, we're saying he's including all kinds of fish. His teacher, the dog, you decide that dog means large, dog is small, dog is large. It says a passage by Yoina, it says by Yaman Hashem sent over the dog, God, a large fish, to swallow Yoina. It says the word dog. It's that's Uriah. Right? Because it says the dog see, it says Vayispal Yoina El Hashem Lakom dog. It says that he davened to the Eibishter from the inside of the dog, the same fish that we call the mineral dog, now became a dog. So what are you telling me that dog is a name for a small euphemism for a smaller fish? There's a whole kasha. Who says the same fish? Dilma Polta dog cotton. The Yoina had a lot of fun. He was span out from one fish to the next. Like we know he span out from the whale. So he span out from one fish to the next fish, and therefore he started out on a dog, and he ended up the dog. And the fish became smaller and smaller because he wasn't davening to Hashem to ask for tshuva. So the Eibishter wanted to put him in a situation that he had no other breda but to daven to the Eibishter to rescue him. Says the Gemara, okay. Ella, it says another passage by the Makkah, Hadoga Asher by your Mesa, the dogga in the water died, the Nile died. You're saying dogga means small fish, only small fish died, not a large fish. Tani Mesa Dela Mesu, only the small fish died, not the large ones. Ella dogga mashpak Dela mashpak Tani. The word dogga, for the Titus perspective, can include both. Navas. Ubenedarim halech achalosh b'nei adam. The pasuk, you're right. Dog is the same as dog, but people when they talk, I remember in the Nedarim you go after Lashon Yaldim. What do people mean and what do they say? That's how people talk. And since if the person when he talks about a large fish, he uses the expression dog, and when he talks about a small fish, he uses the expression dog. So that's how it is. So the mother Hanoidim and a Tzachna, so it makes that different Tzachna. What about he said Harei like Tzichin? He said if I said Tzichin, does it include also the brine and everything else? This is marinated small little fish, and the reason why it's called tzichin is because it has a very strong odor, very very strong, very powerful odor or stench, and so therefore he wants to know whether by calling it tzichin does it mean to include everything, including the brine and everything else, or not. Tiboye will remain with a question. We'll stop here. Tomorrow, because the Mishnah tomorrow is basically half the Gemara tomorrow. And you see the rounds over here, I mean, he really goes to town. But if you learn for Smicha, Yeridea, the round, Min, this is the round that we learned. So we'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow. You're telling me.